So when everything feels urgent, what normally wins? Is it the email that's just come into your inbox? Is it a person that's wanting an answer from you about something? Is it that quick, easy job that you could just get done and tick off your list and that makes you feel a bit better because you got something complete? Meanwhile, while all these things are fighting for the most urgent thing to do, the work that actually is going to make a difference to your business is slipping and getting pushed to tomorrow or next week or next month. So if you're busy all the time but you're worried that you're not really making the progress in the business that you want to make, the answer isn't necessarily that you need to work harder or work more hours. Possibly what you need to do is just to have a better system in place so you can decide what actually matters. Hi, I'm Sarah and I'm the Office Fixer, and I'm here to help you create a business that feels calmer, more organised and more manageable. So I've got one quick update for you before we start. Last week I talked about the 6 foundation stones. I've had a couple of conversations in this last week and they've made me sort of think about the model and I've refined it slightly. So the capture and the prioritise I've pulled together. They're really 2 parts of the same thing. So I've brought them into one of the foundation stones. I'd completely missed out an important area, and that's about how you store your information. So I've added that in. And then the repeatability stone, well, that should never have been there in the first place because that is definitely part of the next step in my model, which is called processorizing. So today we're going to talk about the next foundation stone, capture and prioritise. So there's 2 or 3 problems when it comes to task management. The first one is that as a small business owner, you're doing all sorts of things. As we discussed last week, you've got life as well as business, and you're probably managing all of those tasks together if you're like me. I find it very difficult to separate, well, this is my business stuff and this is my life, and it all sort of merges together. And you end up with your tasks, your things you need to do for everything that goes on in your life, all over the place. You'll have some things coming in on email. You might have a notebook that you keep somewhere prominent that you can scribble things in when they come into your mind. You might have an app on your phone, your notes app, for example, you put stuff in. You might be a post-it person, you've got post-its around. It might be that you just have stuff in your head and you're constantly trying to not forget the stuff that's in your head. And, well, if you're like me and you've got what I call menopause memory, that really isn't a very good system to rely on. So all this work scattered all over the place. This means that you're not really getting the full picture of all the things that you need to do. And because you haven't got that full picture, that makes it very difficult for you to be able to make proper decisions about which are the priority things that you need to do, which are actually urgent and which aren't. Now, the second problem is that some of those things on your list, they might not be proper tasks. They might be a bit vague and actually more like project headings. So, for example, sort the website, do some marketing, create a course. These could be 10-minute jobs or they could be 10-week jobs. It depends what the definition of those are. So those vague entry lists don't really help you make decisions about what you need to do and what could be fitted in to what time you've got. The other thing that we have, which is a really difficult one I think to deal with, is borrowed urgency. So this is when somebody else asks you to do something and they put their time limit on it. So their urgency becomes your urgency. And actually, it might not be your most important task. It might not be the thing that you need to do to move forward to achieve your goals. So how do we get all this sorted? Well, the first thing I would say is to create one trusted place where you can capture all of your to-dos. So before you can prioritise anything, you need to know what you're looking at. So you need to have one place where you can get everything out of your head, all of those things that come in off your inbox, that you've scribbled down on post-its or in a notebook, they all come together in one place. And this is less about the tool and more about something that you're actually going to use. So for me, I use Trello. It's what I've used for years, and I use it to manage my entire life and business. And I've got a phone app, so it can be with me wherever I am. And for me, that's the most important thing I'd say, is whatever it is you decide to use, whether it's Trello, if you're a Trello person, or if you want to become a Trello person, or whether it's your Google Tasks or your Apple Notes, or whatever app, Notion, Asana, whatever you're using and you want to use, if you've got access to it on your phone, you never know when somebody's going to say to you, oh, can you just do this for me? Or, oh, have you remembered such and such? If you've got it on your phone, generally your phone is always with you. So you're able to then just pop into the app on your phone and write that down, and it's captured, it's safe, you're not going to forget it. Your head doesn't have to go, must remember this, must remember this, must remember this, which is then taking headspace from other things you're supposed to be doing. So less about the tool, more about one that you actually like, that you're actually going to use, and you've got access to it wherever you are, whether you're sat at your desk or you're in the car or you're out, wherever. And don't worry about capturing it and having this long list. You're not creating another to-do list. I think sometimes people think, well, if I write everything down and it's this massive list, it's a bit overwhelming and I've just created myself a massive to-do list. This isn't what it's about. It's about having one safe place to store everything. You're not committing to doing it just because you've put it into your capture place. It means that you don't have to worry about losing it, and it's there. And once everything's there, then you can start to prioritise. If you haven't already downloaded my Chaos to Calm starter kit, then you might want to do that, and I'll put the link in the description below, because the first system in my starter kit is this one about capturing, creating a place to capture. So you might just find that helpful to get a bit more information on that. So step 2 then is, once you've captured everything from all these places and put it into your safe place, you need to look at these, the vague tasks, the potential project titles as opposed to clear actions. And you want to change those from sort the website to what is the first actionable task you need to do to sort the website. So it might be that you need to check all the buttons on the website are working and list any broken links so you can sort them out. It might be that you're wanting to rewrite one of the paragraphs on your about page or your home page. So instead of having sort the website, list what that specific task is, or at least the first, if it's a bigger project, what's the first task that you need to do? Okay, then it just makes it a bit more manageable. You haven't got this great big sort of elephant. You're like, oh, how do I deal with this? You've got the first step you need to do. And that's going to make it easier then for you to make decisions about priorities. So then the next step is to prioritise those tasks. And well, how do we do that? There's a number of ways you could do that. And what I want to show you today is something called the Eisenhower Matrix, or you may know it as the urgent important grid. So the urgent important grid looks like this. So down the left-hand side, you've got not important and important. And along the top, you've got urgent and not urgent. And so the 4 quadrants in the grid obviously tie up with those things. So the top left-hand side is urgent important. And I've made this red because this is sort of the firefighting quadrant. So if there's tasks in this quadrant, these are tasks that do need doing, but it's a stressful box to live in because everything is urgent and it needs doing now. So it's really not the place you want to be for all of your time. And therefore, setting up a system like this where you can manage your tasks to keep you out of that quadrant as much as possible is going to make your life much less stressful. And in an ideal world, you need to be living in this top right hand box, which is not urgent but important. So this is more of a planning box, and this is often where this is really where the business building work lives, and this is why it gets ignored, because it is important work, but it's not urgent, and it gets pushed out for the urgent firefighting stuff. But this is the place where you want to be living for a lower stress life. So there's important things that need doing, but you're planning them in and you're not having to do them at the last minute. Now the bottom left, not important but urgent, it's a bit of a deceptive box. So it's urgent, but it's not important. It's not important against your priorities. So if you watched my video last week, we talked about remembering why we were running the business. And I used that example of the quote, will it make the boat go faster? So tasks that won't make your boat go faster, this is your priority, tasks that are going to help you achieve your goals. If they're not, then they're not important to you, and they're probably somebody else's priority and their urgency, as we just spoke about earlier. So be careful with stuff in this box. Is it something that somebody else can do? As a solopreneur, obviously you haven't got a team you can delegate to, but you might have people that you can outsource to. You might work with a VA or such like. Or can you get the person who's asking you to do it? Or can the deadline be changed so it's no longer in the urgent column? Okay, so you've got a bit more time and it can be planned in. If something lands in this bottom right corner, is it the wastebasket? Or it could be that it's entertainment stuff. So if it's not urgent and it's not important, then does it need doing at all? Can it be binned or deleted? It might be that it's just not for now. It's a good idea, but it's not important. It's not going to move your priorities forward right at this moment in time. But you don't want to lose it. And in which case I suggest that in your task management system, you have a place to a later list. So somewhere you can put stuff that you don't want to lose, but it's not for doing now. You'll come back to it later and see if it's relevant then. And it might be something that is a relaxation, entertainment. It might be a day out or a trip to the cinema. So not highly important, not absolutely urgent. You can do as and when. So these are the 4 quadrants of the urgent, important. And I have had a look. There's a number of apps in the Apple Store, certainly, for Eisenhower Matrix, if you wanted to have an app that worked through this system. Alternatively, if you are a Trello user, I have created a Trello board, and I will just bring that up to briefly show you. So this is a simple Trello board that I've created based on the urgent important grid. So I've created a column for each of those squares on the grid. So the urgent important, the important but not urgent, the not urgent and not important and urgent, not important and not urgent. And the idea is that you can capture all of your to-dos in your inbox here. Just keep adding your cards in, add a card in for each of your to-dos. And then you can spend a bit of time deciding which quadrant you think they fit into. And if you're a Trello user, you know you can just drag and drop your cards across. So if we do task 1, task 2. So you might say, oh, well, this task is it's important, but it's not urgent. That's great. That's the box we want to be in. And task 2, you might say, well, that's not important, but it's urgent. And once you've sort of organised your tasks in whatever way you're doing it, you've then got a bit of a better clue about what you need to be working on and what maybe you need to see if you can get somebody else to help you with, can get deadlines moved, doesn't need doing at all, can go into a later list. And I've put a later list on this Trello board. So the thing about your later list, or your not now list, is that you're making a deliberate decision. So instead of having this massive long list of things that you need to do and then not getting through a load of them, and then you start to feel like, well, I'm just not getting anywhere, and you get this sort of feeling of guilt and I just didn't get around to it. Whereas having this later list, you're making a deliberate choice to say, this is okay that I can't get to this yet, and I'm going to put it in my later list. And you feel more in control because you've made a decision instead of stuff just not getting done. So it's there, it's safe to come back to when the time is right in your new shiny capture system. But you're able to make a deliberate decision, and that feels better than just not getting a load of stuff done. So what I suggest you do after you finish watching this video is to set up that one capture place. And as I say, if you want to download my From Chaos to Calm Starter Kit, the link is below, and that will give you that system plus a couple of other systems that you might want to put into your business that's going to help you create structure and calm. So once you've created that capture place, make sure that each task is a clear action step and not just a generalised title of a group of things that need to happen. And then I suggest that you choose maybe the top 10 sort of current tasks that are competing for your attention and put them through that Eisenhower Matrix. So whether you just draw it on a piece of paper, whether you download an app, whether you use the Trello board, just put them through that system of working out how urgent and how important they are, and making the decision as to what you're going to do next and what you're deliberately going to put into that later column. And then you might have noticed on the Trello board I had another column that I didn't mention that says the top 3 tasks. So you put top 3 priorities. So choose the 3 things that you really want to prioritise in the next week. But also pick your top priority. So that if the week goes pear-shaped for whatever, this is Belle, my cat, the tail of. If the week goes pear-shaped, you have one task that you can really focus on and try and make sure that gets done. And at least then at the end of the week, you don't feel like it's been a complete washout and you have got something done and you have moved forward. So I hope this was helpful. Next week, we're going to look at that next foundation stone, and that's all about the dreaded filing system and that whole question of where did I put that really important document that I did last month? Thanks for watching, and if this has helped, please subscribe to my channel and please share with another overloaded solopreneur that you know who would really benefit from learning about systems to create themselves a much calmer business. Here's to taking back control, one small system at a time.